Welcome, everybody, to Horror and Heroes. This is our second episode. Welcome. I am your buddy Coco. This is my cousin Vinny.
What's up?
This is my cousin Gio, who's my cousin Vinny's uncle Gio. We'll tell you that story another time, maybe. And this, our damsel in distress, our final girl, Tiffany. Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing good.
So good.
Yeah? How about you, Johnny? You doing all right? Sorry,
Doing
Gio.
great. Lovely.
So, all right. So let's just get into it. You know, it's been a week since our last show, and I think we had a good time. I mean,
Had a great time.
I listened
So
to the
fun.
I listened to it maybe 17 times just to just because I like the sound of my own voice. You know what I mean? I like to hear myself talk. You know, it's good to hear, you guys too once in a while. But so where are we at with movies now? Like we were just talking about, we just had like a whole show before the show.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking
Always.
about, because we come from a time where movies were a bigger production. Movies were the thing to do. You know what I mean? It was like you'd go, like when you're a kid, your mom takes you, your brother, and your sisters, gets in the car and is like, all right, we're gonna go see the new the Dick Tracy, let's say. You know what I mean? Like that was a big one for me when I was a kid. So well, I mean, as a kid, that was like one of my favorite movies. I could still watch that movie and love it, but it was so different back then because you had to stand in line, hope to get good seats, hope that you could sit together.
Yes.
But we all
Yeah.
did that. Now, when I go to a movie now and I can order my ticket online through an app, whether it's Alamo or Atom, or every movie franchise, every theater franchise has their own app nowadays, and there's one app that you could buy everything from. Whatever, you pick your seats, and it's cool. You know where you're gonna sit. You have good seats. But back in the day, you used to have to wait online, and I still see people doing that. To me, that's like,
We
wow.
had to get the newspaper to see what the times were.
Exactly. You used to, or you
Do
call
you
movie.
remember when the movie phone came up?
Movie phone.
Yeah, movie phone.
Movie phone.
Yep. Exactly. It's like Dick Tracy is also playing at, so. But it's become such a different thing because, like I said, I like knowing where I'm going to sit. Like, I don't mind not having to go to the theater to buy my tickets. I have no problem picking out my seats, know where I'm going to be. But it's just such a different, entity now. It's just such a different vibe. We used to go to the theater even when we were kids. Like, our mothers were like, "Shh, be quiet, no talking." We wouldn't she wouldn't let us touch the popcorn until the movie started. We couldn't even touch it till after you finish it.
Now we finish it during the preview.
Oh, exactly. Yes. And it's like, what? Mom's not here. I'm going to put my peanut M&Ms in my popcorn.
The previews are my favorite part.
They used to be my favorite part. The previews used to be my favorite part because, there'd be like maybe 3 trailers, before the movie. Now there's like
an hour,
20 minutes of trailers before the movie even starts, and that gets so annoying.
I went to the movies the other night, took my nephews, and there was literally about 40 minutes of previews. It was, it was ridiculous.
Right, and it just becomes so exhausting. Like, I'm already tired before the movie even starts.
Yes.
And then you have these trailers that will show you what you believe could be the whole movie in this 3-4 minute trailer. But then you get these movies that show you nothing. Neither of those are good because I saw Longlegs based on a trailer that said Nicolas Cage was in it, and he wasn't even in the trailer.
We saw the trailer, and we both wanted to see that movie.
Right.
And then we saw it.
Right.
And you wanted to unsee it.
Right, exactly. But
I wish I could get my money back. I didn't pay for it.
Well, so
I do.
But here's the thing. Okay, so you just took your nephews to a movie. What movie did you take your nephews to see?
We went to see The Monkey.
The Monkey. I saw The Monkey. See, this is a movie that Vinny and I didn't get to see together. So it's just kind of weird coming back from a movie that we both saw separately and talking about it. We almost didn't even talk about it.
Yeah.
We were going to wait till tonight to talk about it, but we had to make sure that we're going to be able to talk about it. Because it couldn't be one of those things
talk about it before we talk about
exactly. It couldn't
Yes.
be Vinny saying, "Hey, Coco, what'd you think of The Monkey?" and me just being, "I don't want to talk about it." But that's kind of the truth, though. It's like I almost don't want to talk about it.
So my spoiler-free review on it, was it entertaining? Yes. but it was a watered down Final Destination with a mascot. That's what it felt like.
That's a very good, like very accurate. That's very accurate because
So
that's
the
exactly
kind of predicts everybody's dying.
It's not that the monkey. All right, listen.
But
Again, we're going to give our disclaimer. We're going to give our warning. There will be spoilers during this show. I'm not going to scream out spoiler alert. I'm not necessarily going to say one now, but just you've been warned. You've been warned.
You die.
Yeah.
You're gonna pay taxes.
So the thing was, like you said, that's a very because like I did notice a very Final Destination aspect to it, a very
like,
Final Destination vibe to it, where in Final Destination it was death missed you, but it's got to get
coming
you.
back.
However it has to get you, it's going to get you, and it was always in a weird, crazy, just unbelievable way, and that's basically what happened with the people in the monkey.
Yeah,
You wind up the monkey, and it kills somebody.
yeah.
Some kind of strange entity, whatever, however it works, and the kills were just ridiculous.
The first kill was crazy, and then it felt like it was setting a tone for what the kills are going to be in the rest of the movie, and none of them lived up to it.
I agree with that because the first kill it was very unexpected. You didn't know, when you walk into a movie, obviously I didn't even see a trailer for it before seeing it. All I needed to see was the name Stephen King because I love Stephen King, and this story was written 45 years ago. This story came out in 1980, and Final Destination came out 2000. A lot of time in between for that story to be the story to have been adapted into a movie and then Final Destination come out. But no, 45 years after the story was created, the story was published, I should say, the movie comes out. Final Destination was already a thing. We already know about this entity, death, coming after these people. But again, what we were talking about, how people need to see things to know what's happening. You get Final Destination, as you said, with the mascot, with the monkey.
Yeah.
So they know what's causing death. It's like, well, it's this monkey who's playing the drum. So the thing was, I didn't even know going into it that it was a horror comedy. I thought it was just going to be a horror. So I'm in there watching this movie, and there's just way too much comic relief. It's like whether it's the uncle and the aunt or just the way that people are dying in the movie. You hear people laughing, you hear people chuckling. And I'm just sitting there. It's like, okay, I understand horror comedy. I understand making things scary, but also having a comedy essence to it. But this movie relied too much on the deaths of the people for the comedy. Because these deaths were so inane, so ridiculous, that like it couldn't just be somebody slipping and cracking their head. It's like, no, it would be somebody, this isn't an actual kill. It would be somebody slipping, cracking their head, a tree branch falling on their face, and then a freaking squirrel coming in, crawling inside the body and out the stomach. You know what I mean? Like, that's how crazy like these kills were. But that was what this movie relied on for the comedy. And to me, that's just cheap. It's just a little too much, a little too far to go for a laugh.
My nephew loved it. He was laughing his ass off the entire movie, but he's 13.
Right, exactly. And if I were 13 watching this movie, I would probably laugh my ass off and say, this is the greatest thing that my Uncle Vinny ever took me to do. You know what I mean? It's like, you could take them on a zip line or whatever. It's like, yo, there was cursing in this movie. Uncle Vinny took me. You know what I mean? It's like, you see what happened to the back of that woman's head? It's like, and I get that from, I don't have a problem with, certain deaths being portrayed in a comical way, but this whole movie was that.
Yeah, and
the first kill,
some of them were just not realistic. It's supposed to be, but it's not. The hibachi scene.
Yeah, that was See, you didn't even see it, and you know that.
We just had hibachi. I'm just thinking like,
I'm never eating hibachi again.
I'm not going to say how it actually happens, but it would have been much better if, like, when they do the fire thing, she caught on fire.
Right, that would have made more sense instead of while the guy's chopping and all that stuff, and while they're both falling in love with each other, this guy slices her throat. You know what I mean?
Decapitate.
Sorry,
I didn't want to say it, but a hibachi chef is not going to decapitate somebody on a backswing.
Exactly.
Like it's not gonna happen.
Right. And
Maybe not where you go.
well, I mean, it's not like the guy
Come
was, it's not like the guy was using a freaking sword,
It
it's not.
It could have been worse. It could have been having sushi.
I think that's what he was planning for after the dinner,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was the movie that Vinny and I saw this week, a brand new movie separately. And I was actually surprised that the both of us came back with the same idea, that we were just kind of, whatever, like
It was entertaining.
exactly.
I'm not like clamoring for my money back.
Right.
So I did enjoy it, but it wasn't.
Right. But see, you also went with people who did enjoy it.
Yes.
That makes it more enjoyable sometimes.
And like I said last week, I love bad movies.
You do. You really do love bad movies.
Yes, like I can say a movie sucked. I loved it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean it.
Yeah. I mean, he's the only person I know
We should
who
watch movies together.
But those are those movies that you want to watch that suck, that accidentally suck. You know what I mean?
Right,
Right.
but Vinny's probably the only person I know who has the whole Sharknado collection on Blu-ray.
No.
The Sharknado franchise
Wait, there's
is
more
one of the
than one?
greatest franchises in movie history.
You see what I mean?
Okay, I love those movies. They are horrible, but they're fun to watch.
I listen, I believe that.
You
But
know, like,
it is known that they're just bad movies.
I mean, they're
I mean,
made
listen.
TV movies,
Right,
Like,
they were made-
there you go, right there.
right. Made
They
what
are.
was
They
it
are
for
notoriously horrible, and
was it
that's
for-
why I love them. They make fun of themselves. They know they're
and
bad. It's sci-fi. It's
I-
a sci-fi channel.
right.
They know they're making a bad movie, and they embrace it.
And that's fine.
that's what
there's
makes them
nothing
great.
there's nothing
Embrace the suck.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, come on. The titles alone. Look at part 6. It has to do with time travel, and it's called Sharknado 6: The Last Sharknado. It's about time.
right.
Like
They're telling you what
Like,
it is in the title.
like
Technically, they're telling
it's
what it is in the title.
some people say, oh, it's the last one. About time. It's the last one. No, it's literally about time.
That's what the movie's about. The movie is about time. I know, I get it. I get it. And I'm not sitting here thinking like I'm, better than anybody because they like Shark. Dude, I own the whole Leprechaun collection on Blu-ray. You know what I mean? Blu-ray and digital.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like there are certain things that speak to certain people.
But yeah,
I choose a leprechaun, you choose a shark.
I also own every Tremors movie.
And that's
Oh,
that's a
That's a
movie.
good watch, though.
That is.
What's his name doesn't even take credit for it?
Who?
Kevin Bacon?
Well, he was only in the first one.
He was
Yeah, I
on
know,
the
but
first one.
he what's it called? He will
Yeah.
not. He will not take. If you mention it to him, he'll say no, it wasn't.
Would
Well-
you?
No.
But that was
he like to have a kid. And you give the money.
Yeah.
You give the money.
Yeah, see, that makes sense because you will never see Kevin Bacon in any of like the interviews or any documentaries that have anything to do with Friday the
He was
13th.
actually a very good scary movie. What was it?
Stir of Echoes?
Stir of Echoes.
Yeah, that I keep hearing that. I have it on my watch list for like 18
That
years.
was spooky. It was spooky.
Right. I need to see that. I mean, like I saw Hollow Man. I like that movie.
Yes.
So I mean,
Hollow Man was.
but that's another one that a lot of people will say that movie was terrible. I just love the part where he's got the bandages on and he's in a car. Some kids are looking at him. He just takes the glasses off and he like opens his mouth. Kids see through his face and they freak out. Great scene. It was hilarious. But that being said, about one of the newer movies of 2025, 2 months into 2025, what about 2024? 2024 is over. We're 2 months into 2025. What did we see? What did we like? What did you like?
I mean, on the hero aspect of it.
On the
it
hero
was-
aspect, let's start with that. Where
It
are we going?
it was not a good year for comic book movies.
Okay.
There wasn't that many to begin with.
Okay.
On the DC side, we got Joker, Folie à Deux.
You say that so
Which-
lovely.
Yeah,
I wish I could have seen the way your lips moved when you said that. It would have been really, I was looking down
Folie or do?
Folie à Deux. Eh,
more like Gots and O'Ghoul.
yeah,
If you're Italian, you know what that means. And I tell you, I guarantee you that would be less painful than sitting through Joker 2.
they took a movie that never should have been made and said, let's make it a crappy musical. And it shouldn't have been made. The first Joker should have just been left alone.
That was phenomenal.
Joker was, to me, was a phenomenal film.
love
I
that
agree with that. I totally understand that. Because I saw that in the theater and I fell in love with the movie. A lot of people don't like it.
That's
But,
nuts.
but-
that was a great
How
movie.
could you
I
not
agree.
like that? It was
I-
so
listen,
layered.
I
Has so
have-
much to
You
it.
look at it as a standalone movie. Forget about that. You know
Right.
what Batman is. Batman is. You know
Right.
the Joker Batman
Oh,
story.
it was a
That was a great
It was a great
Amazing
movie.
movie.
and it was
I-
wild about some scenes.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
the second one. I actually refused to watch it.
I made him watch it.
I watched it this morning, 8 o'clock this morning, and
you had to watch.
I was in and out.
You could show you have to watch a bunch of crap.
I was
You know.
in and out of sleep watching it, and then I got to the end of it, and I'm like,
About
I
time.
didn't understand everything because, like I said, I fell asleep here and there, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch this again. I just don't care.
See,
It wasn't it. The first 5 minutes of the movie were good, and then it just
See, my problem when I fall asleep during a movie is I go back and rewind what I missed. Whereas you probably just let it keep playing.
no. Like if I'm into the movie, I will rewind.
Oh no, I wasn't into the movie.
I
and I
just
still
didn't-
rewind.
I didn't care.
You're
I
into-
wanted to-
you're into the movie and you fall asleep. That's not a good sign.
That well, you know,
I mean, well,
he falls. Listen, he'll fall
I
asleep.
fell asleep at concerts.
These are
He
hardworking men.
He falls asleep on roller coasters. I mean, it's so. But the thing is, the first movie to me was a fantastic film. I loved the first one. Went to the theater. Actually saw it in 35 millimeter, if you can believe that. Which, you know, basically they only do that for special featured movies nowadays. Don't know why, but you know, old school film. You still hear the film in the booth. And it's, you know, that in and of itself is an event nowadays.
Yeah.
But the movie itself, the original Joker movie, was fantastic. You know, you take this guy who's you know getting beaten, getting you know, his life just sucks. He creates certain things in his head to be able to get on with life. Ends up killing Robert De Niro's character, which, you know, I gave the credit to Joaquin Phoenix to being one of the very few people who actually got to whack Robert De Niro on screen. And it wasn't even another Italian. Like, come on. So when the second one was announced, it was one of the movies that was talked about from the moment it was announced that they were doing a sequel to the moment they announced that Lady Gaga was part of it, to the moment that
Harley Quinn, come on.
to the moment they announced that it was going to
That's
be
a
a
stretch.
musical. This is a big movie that whether you liked it or not, it's almost like you have to see it just to see if it really is as bad as
Yeah,
everybody's saying. And it was. The thing is, you have a musical. I have no problem with musicals. I mean, come on, we've all seen Grease. We've all seen Grease too, for God's sake. We love Grease.
Right.
We love West Side Story.
You seen Grease 3.
I didn't even know that existed. I don't even want
Grease.
to know.
That's on Pornhub.
Oh,
Oh,
so anyway,
That's for the other podcast.
yeah, that's for Wednesday nights, please.
But I'm going to say, here's what
thanks for the plug.
couple of things. One, you have what the hell's her name? Geminotto? What do you guys call it? Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga.
Oh,
She's basically, for some reason, they're copying Madonna's shitty career.
right.
Okay, I get it. Madonna's a great singer, yeah, you know, but she went to movies and she sucked at movies. So what's her name? Lady Gaga has done a couple of screen appearances.
Madonna was great in Dick Tracy.
Okay. Then they basically, well, you know what? Let's say she was not as bad as she was in the other movies, right?
Mhm.
Because the only movie that she was halfway decent was in A League of Their Own. But she basically played herself.
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 In the
Just like
40s.
what was the one that Lady Gaga did with Bradley Cooper?
But
Where she played
okay.
herself?
Right, but she
And then-
didn't.
No,
Right,
but you know
but
what I'm
okay,
saying?
and that's why she did okay. Now they're trying to force it to certain.
Right.
You
It
know,
wasn't the
she's
role.
not an actress. Plus, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the expert on this stuff. Harley Quinn is kind of like Superman. It's a special character. You can't just be Harley Quinn. If you fuck up Harley Quinn, people are
Yeah,
gonna go after
she's a fan. Even before Margot Robbie, she was a fan favorite.
right. That's what I'm saying.
And, yeah, like
That's when
picking
somebody,
her up
when
is
somebody plays Superman,
right,
they better get it right
right.
because that's Superman.
Right. And also the fact, only one other person has played Harley Quinn at this point
Yeah.
and
Right.
did a phenomenal job.
Yes, yeah.
Oh yeah, she definitely
Bad
nailed it.
movies, but phenomenal job at the character.
She definitely nailed it. But the thing with Lady Gaga, the thing with this being a musical was I would have more respect for it if it was music made for the movie. if somebody wrote, composed, you know,
Right.
created all these
It
songs,
wasn't original songs.
right? They created songs having to do with the situation at hand instead of just breaking out into a Stevie Wonder song or breaking out
Yeah,
into
it
a
was-
Sammy Davis Jr. song or a song from a musical from like you know the 60s or the 50s.
Yeah, like they just wanted to make it a musical. So
Right. And you know,
instead of having the background track playing, they had the actors sing.
right. And if that movie didn't have the musical part, and again, I like musicals, if it didn't have the musical aspect to it, if they didn't have to bust out into song every 5-10 minutes, it could have been a better movie. If they had a different person playing Harley Quinn, now fans again, Harley Quinn's a fan favorite, but so is Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
She is also a fan favorite.
Right.
Now, a lot of people were saying, why isn't Margot Robbie be Harley Quinn in this movie? I could see that if she played, as you said, we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
And what was it you said?
I said I think Margot Robbie would probably do a good job, but she would not be able to play the same Harley Quinn.
Right.
She would have to do the character.
She wasn't a patient.
completely
She was
different.
a doctor.
Right.
Well, Harley
and-
Quinn is supposed to be a doctor
right.
who falls in love with her patient.
Yeah.
And
But the
You
thing
know,
is, I said
not
to
a
you,
patient who falls in love with another inmate.
but I also said to you earlier that I think Margot Robbie does have the chops to be able
Oh
to
yeah,
play
I
the
agree.
type of Harley Quinn needed for Joker too.
I agree.
She definitely does.
Another thing with Joker 2 is it's a character that most people wouldn't see was Arkham Asylum.
Mhm.
The asylum itself. Anybody that reads Batman, anybody that's seen the Batman movies, played the Batman video games, you know what Arkham is supposed to look like.
Yes.
I didn't even realize it was Arkham until the breakout scene, and I saw the sign on the wall.
Right.
It's like it didn't feel like Arkham. It was.
It's supposed to be very dark.
It's supposed to be dark, dingy, dirty, and like it just didn't have the feel of Arkham Asylum.
Were
Right.
they trying to modernize it and
Like
make
Yeah,
they
it?
but
made
that's
it a prison. It was a great prison.
But see,
If it was Blackgate Prison, which is a prison in the DC Comics, it would have been a little bit better.
Yeah.
But that was
Right.
not Arkham.
right. But also the
Yes.
story of Harley Quinn in the movie was ridiculous too, where she did have a master's or something in
Right.
psychiatry, I believe, but she admitted herself into Arkham to meet the Joker and to become his love interest. And in the trailers, you always see Harley Quinn, you know, Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn in that suit. You know, the colors that
Yes.
Harley Quinn wears.
The Harley Quinn suit.
She was in that suit for like not even 5 minutes in the movie. You know, it was so insignificant. That was like, that was like Sabretooth in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
Do you remember that movie? When did that come out?
That was another 2024.
That was
movie.
another
That was-
2024 movie, another hero 2024 movie, a movie that people have been waiting
Yes.
for since the first Deadpool movie came out.
So Marvel 2024 didn't give us that much either. For the MCU, technically we got nothing.
Mhm.
Deadpool and Wolverine connects to it, but isn't. I mean, maybe at the beginning of the movie it's not part of it, and at the end of the movie it might be part of the MCU.
It gets
it's still
confusing
is-
after a while.
To find out exactly how it fits in, we need to see a few more movies come out.
Right, and there's so many different things happening in Marvel with so many different multiverses and stuff. It's hard to keep up with what's happening where and when it's happening
Right.
and all that stuff. But as far as Deadpool and Wolverine, did it meet your expectations?
It passed it.
Yeah.
It passed.
But,
You feel that it passed the expectations of what you were expecting. Now
Yeah.
we're talking
All right.
like okay, because Deadpool and Wolverine in the hero community, in the hero side of things, is like Freddy versus Jason on our side,
So-
on the horror side.
Right. So
You know?
yes, I was expecting big. I was expecting, a lot of action. Like I was expecting what you would expect from Deadpool 3. But I wasn't expecting Henry Cavill as Wolverine. I wasn't expecting Gambit and X-23 and Blade to show up.
Mhm.
Or-
Chris Evans
or
as
Flame.
coming back as a Human Torch.
Yeah.
Right.
Pyro back, Arclight, all of the other random characters that came back to reprise their roles.
Mhm.
You know,
Okay, so
they went bigger than I thought they were going to go.
see, my thing is,
Tiffany's making fun of us.
I wasn't as impressed with the movie. You know what I mean? Like I enjoyed it. I laughed. I think there were a lot of good scenes. I appreciated the cameos, but I didn't feel like that made the movie. You know,
no,
it's like,
right.
see, I was excited for Sabretooth. I really
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
And you know, when I was at a horror convention and I met Tyler Mane, I told him, I was like, dude, they did you wrong in that movie. I was like, they totally Darth Mauled you. They used you for the advertisements. And
Yeah.
what happened? 2 minutes into his,
I would love to see more of him.
because he was perfect as Sabretooth.
Yeah.
Granted, he was in what? Just the first X-Men movie and in this small scene.
No, he was in.
He was in part
as
2.
well.
Right. He was in 1 and
That's the
2.
big guy, O'Donnell, right?
Uh,
No,
Tyler Mane.
Tyler Mane.
Yeah, I know. What's it? He's a big guy.
Oh no,
Oh,
you're thinking of Liev Schreiber.
Oh yeah.
You're thinking of what's the show? Donovan.
Yeah.
He was Sabretooth in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah.
But Tyler Mane to me was perfect for Sabretooth from the start.
Yeah.
And I was so excited for his return because again, in the advertisements, in the trailers, there, you know, it's like they wanted you to know who was going to be
Right.
They wanted you to know that this was going to be big. There's going to be a lot of cameos. There's going to be a lot of cool shit. And Sabretooth is back. You know what I mean? Sabretooth versus Wolverine. Again, we're talking like Freddy versus Jason. And here it is. Boom.
And it was
12 seconds, if
was
that.
was it that long?
I don't even think it was.
You know,
I mean, dude,
granted it was a cool scene,
it was. But
they should.
it just
they
was
did
so
it better.
short-lived.
They
I was
did it
so
better.
excited.
They did
I was
it
so excited to see Wolverine
I mean,
back,
I was happy to see Chris Evans back as Human Torch.
right, as was a lot of people.
But that's another
what
one
happened?
that was
Darth
you know,
Maul. He was Darth Maul.
yeah.
And again, a lot of these cameos, while it was cool to see them, they were unnecessary.
What about
Right.
Blade?
They were
So
very
so-
unnecessary.
Talking about Blade yet?
What about? I mean, it was
That
great to see him back.
Yeah, right. That's what
I mean, and the fan reaction to him coming back was so great that they canceled the movie.
Yeah.
They canceled the Blade movie.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
For the
Because-
second time.
because it was already looking like crap.
And it was,
exactly.
you know, it was funny in the theater that we were in when we saw it. You know, everybody's cheering for Blade, but then did Elektra come out after him? Because like nobody made it.
Electra came out first.
No, people were like cool with that, but as soon as
When
you know,
Blade came out,
when Blade
everybody-
came out, it was
Channing Tatum's
You
Gambit,
gotta remember,
but then Blade came out and everybody went nuts.
Yeah.
but
Blade started it all.
and Blade
Right.
was
The
a
modern
success.
modern hero.
Electra was fair. For the most part.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
So-
it
so,
was.
so was the original Daredevil.
Electra was a bad spin-off to a bad movie.
Right. I mean, but you know, it was funny. It did have a lot of cool scenes.
It was fan service. It was 2
Exactly.
hours of fan
And
service.
that's one of the
But
things
they
that I
did
have.
manage to put a cohesive story behind
I couldn't stand Professor X's daughter,
it. Sister.
sister, whatever. I thought it was his daughter. Okay, his sister.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Could not stand her as I mean, of course, you're not supposed to like the bad guy. You know,
Right.
it makes sense to not like the bad guy, but it was just, it's like, oh my God, just get her off the screen, please. Like, it's like she was like just a smudge on the screen that I wish I could just get rid of. You know what I mean? Because like I just found her not just as a bad guy to be hateful toward this bad guy, just hateful toward that. Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's what they wanted.
No, they didn't. They wanted me to be like, well, she was really good as Professor X's sister, and I'm not going to say that because like I'd rather shit in my hand and throw it at the screen at that point. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of reaction.
Anyway,
That's the
How
kind
you
of
really
reaction
feel.
that she gave me.
so that was there any good movies?
Well, Deadpool, Wolverine. I
Yeah,
would say
yeah,
was the
but-
only good
Yeah.
Marvel movie that came
I-
out. The others that we had were Madam Web.
Which you saw it. You saw it.
Yeah, it was not good at all. I mean, the main message of the movie is product placement kills. You know, like that's how they beat the guy at the end with product placement.
What, they throw like a can of Pepsi at his head or something?
Close. There's a big ass Pepsi sign.
Are you serious? Oh,
You
my God.
know? I mean, yes, there were some cool scenes, but again, you know, the trailers showed the three girls in their costumes.
Mhm.
And you know, it's supposed to be Spider Woman, Spider Girl, and I think Spinnerette or whoever they are, and they are in costume for the last 3 seconds of the movie.
Yeah.
Like not even like a fight scene, not even like the final fight.
Right.
Like it's like the final pose.
Oh,
you
like
know,
the fade out.
to 6 months later after the fight.
So they
You know?
they saber toothed.
Yeah, exactly. They showed us promos of them in costume and then didn't deliver.
Okay.
We
So
also have Venom 3, The Last Stand.
Venom The Last Dance,
I did not see it yet.
which I'm surprised because I did see it, and all I can really say about it was it was better than part 2. That's it. But the thing, it really isn't saying much. And again, you know, one of the things that I think a lot of fans were hoping for, at least by the third movie, Venom versus Spider-Man. What didn't we get? Venom versus Spider-Man.
I know, right?
I mean, yeah,
Venom.
we got,
Shows up.
We got Venom versus, you know, 3 other symbiotes in the first one.
Exactly.
We got Venom versus Carnage in part 2,
which is a symbiote.
It's his offspring.
Exactly.
You know, and then
And
it's
part
like
3
a
was
lot
the
of
same
these
thing. It was
characters
all the same
shouldn't
shit.
exist without Spider-Man.
Right. And the thing is, there was a point where Eddie Brock ended up in another universe at one point, and he's sitting in a hotel room watching TV in this new world that he's in. What does he find out? That there's a Spider-Man in this planet, in this Earth. Then what happens to him at the beginning of part 3? He's gone from that universe. He gets sucked out of it just as easily as he got sucked into it. Here it is. Eddie Brock as Venom in a world where Spider-Man exists. Everybody's screaming in the theater, screaming like, "Oh my God, it's finally going to happen." Ugats, nothing. It did not happen. And that's what pissed me off about the whole Venom trilogy, was that we never had the interaction between Venom and Spider-Man. And that really sucks. That just sucks.
I mean, I'm sorry, but Tom Hardy's Venom going up against Tom Holland's Spider-Man, I mean, it'd be fun to watch, but Spider-Man wouldn't stand a chance.
But that doesn't matter. It's something that we want to see.
Yeah.
It's, again, Freddy versus Jason. You know?
I would love to see Tom Hardy's Venom go up against Andrew Garfield's.
Just to make a correction, Vinny likes the Deadpool movies.
I love the
Yes.
Deadpool movies.
Yeah.
They misunderstood. They thought you were.
Taste. Right now.
I thought you said
listen,
you didn't like it.
No.
I know. I'm the one who said, not that I didn't like Deadpool and Wolverine. I just didn't like it as much as the other ones. I didn't like it as much as other people might have. I felt like the cameos were just a bit too much.
The greatest Marvel movie is Guardian of the Galaxy. One. Greatest movie. That's it.
Fair enough.
I
Listen.
I agree with you, no,
said
but I won't
okay.
argue with you either.
Right. Exactly.
The thing is, when I saw the first time I saw a trailer for it, I was like, that looks like the dumbest thing ever. Why is there a squirrel, you know, as a superhero or whatever, you know, character? And then when I saw the movie, I was like, holy crap, this is one of the best movies ever. You know,
Right. And it's like like I said, we didn't get Venom and Spider-Man, but we also got a Craven movie
Oh, okay.
and no Spider-Man. We
Yeah,
had a Craven movie in
explain-
You know what?
2024.
explain who Craven is, first of all.
Craven the Hunter, in the comics,
I think it's
is-
kinda
is a guy that,
self-explanatory.
he's basically a hunter. You know, he wears a vest made out of a lion that he killed with his bare hands. And
Wait, he has a bear or a lion?
bear. Oh, lion.
It said bare hand.
You said to throw at him.
You should have given me the pen at the beginning of the show. You're the one who told me to just hold on to it.
So he comes to New York, and Spider-Man is something for him to hunt, and that's how it is in the comics. In the movie, it was not that
Right.
at all. And I mean, yes, he was a hunter, and he had some magical powers that he couldn't die. He could run really fast. I don't know. It's just, you know, and then you had the Rhino as the villain, who was basically
ridiculous.
Tombstone,
Right.
which is another character. It was, you know, like they
Yeah.
literally just took Tombstone and said, "Yeah, he's the Rhino. Give him a horn."
Yeah.
You know, and it was just this is now 2 Spider-Man movies where Rhino has shown up, and the entire universe died.
Right.
Amazing Spider-Man 2, he showed up
They
at
don't
the
know
end,
what
and
to
now
do with
that's
that. That's why. They
huh?
probably don't know what to do with it.
Exactly. You know, I mean, they did the character wrong in Amazing 2 when they basically made him a
In a
mech suit.
machine. Yeah.
It was a mech
It was a
suit.
machine. Yeah.
And now this guy has it.
Wait, what?
It was a mech suit.
I thought you said he was Mexican. I was like, what?
No,
Puerto-
mech suit.
Okay, sorry.
So
I missed
Robotic suit.
Oh.
right, but after seeing what Rhino looked like in Craven,
I would be killed to get that mech suit.
exactly, that was such. It was such.
This is a guy. This movie. It was a guy that had some disease where his skin hardens if he doesn't have a backpack with drugs
Right.
hooked up to a port on
Exactly,
his side.
and when he's doing it, he looks like he's holding in
They
a shit.
become there. No.
You know, it looks like he's holding in a shit.
Yeah,
when he's doing
it was
it made me uncomfortable. It made me question if I had to run to the bathroom or not.
Yeah. Now, if the movie would have been just like The Hunter and had absolutely nothing to do with Craven,
Right.
it might have been a good movie.
It could have. Yeah, it would have been. I mean, listen.
It's
The
that
action-
it didn't match up with the source material.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
A lot of times, the Marvel, what happens with the Marvel and DC is that they have to cater to the geeks, right?
yeah.
The
Right.
comic geeks. But at the same time, they have to broaden that hook.
Right.
They have
Because,
to make
I mean,
it
they
for
don't-
you, but
but, like-
appeal to me.
Right. Okay. But like, you know, the first Iron Man, the first Captain America, they did a good job at that. I think walking the line between, you know, keeping the hardcore fans happy
Yeah.
and bringing in new fans.
Right.
You know, like the MCU does a good job with that. This is Sony. Sony just needs to be like, okay, Marvel, here's the rights to all the stuff you want. So
So
we can't do it.
I want to kind of get into like a little bit more of the horror stuff, but
Mhm.
I will ask you this because this is my impression, and correct me if I'm wrong here. Fantastic Four looks like fucking crap.
I can't
Okay.
do that.
Okay, we're gonna have to.
I'm interested in the trailer.
You
I am
know-
a Fantastic Four fan.
And I'm sorry, but the thing, nobody can make the thing the right way, in my opinion.
This thing is the most comic accurate one already.
Right. And I totally get that, but I got to be honest
I
with you.
think they
don't
copped
know.
out by giving him a shirt.
I
They got the
don't.
face right.
I don't. Right. They got the face right, but does it look right in a live action movie? Is what the question is. I don't think it looks
Looks
that
good in the
good.
trailer.
It looks all right in the trailer. I love the
But-
actor who
But
plays
again,
him.
I'm slightly jaded because I love
You
Fantastic
right,
Four.
and dude, there's no questioning that thing in the trailer is comic accurate. Anybody
Right.
who looked at it like, well, he looks just like the comic, but I don't think that's. I don't think it
Sometimes you
looks
have
that
to
good in real life.
Translate it correctly.
Right.
Right. Now it is the best looking one out of the three that we did.
Fair enough.
You know what? We'll talk more about that next week.
But
because
yeah,
we have-
so-
we have to talk about that and Superman.
Right. Well, yeah.
We'll
we could-
get
we
to
could
that.
get into
Yeah,
that
let's talk
at
about
some
that.
point. I mean,
So
it's like we were talking about, you know, the Joker and Lady Gaga, and you talking about her basically mirroring her career after Madonna. But when you look at this movie that we watched yesterday, Smile 2, the character, you know, she was a Lady Gaga type.
yeah,
I thought it was more like, what's her name? The fucking is the singer name?
You know,
Oh,
the
she is a
numbers
singer.
thing.
Yeah.
I know the actress. I don't know her name,
Demi
but
Lovato.
we thought she was like the hidden daughter of Sarah Michelle.
Yeah,
Gellar
she looked.
for
She kind of had a Sarah Michelle Gellar look to her. Like
she
just when
looks
she
like
was
a young
close up
Sarah
to
Michelle Gellar with
But-
a pen.
her. But so Smile 2 begins where part 1 left off. You got the guy that no one like. You know, he left with this entity following him. Tries to put it on these drug dealers. Doesn't work because he ends up killing them both. So what happens? Another drug dealer who buys his drugs from these drug dealers to deal to other people gets it. And what does he do? He tacks it on to this Lady Gaga type huge world star.
This is like an STD.
It
It
really
really is.
That's the thing. It didn't even go directly from that guy to the pop star.
I thought it did.
It did.
No, where she wasn't there in the beginning.
but she was there when he died.
She was there when he died.
She was there
She
when he
was
died. He
there.
smashed
She
his
watched
face
it
with the weight.
happen.
Oh, yeah.
That's what happens.
She
They
was try-
smile
I
They
was
smile.
not. I was thinking about just
They
the
die,
opening scene.
and now it's on you.
I was thinking about just the opening scene. Like yes, okay, yeah. I
Right.
I
So
forgot about that.
No,
guy.
no, right.
That
So
they was
now
the guy
it's
that was in the house.
following this
Would you get-
dancer, this singer around, and
So, you know, there's another movie where the opening scene set a pace that the movie did not follow.
So
right.
before you guys get into it too much, I want to make sure, in my opinion, because they're talking about it, watch Smile 1. It's worth it.
No, it's
not. No,
Yes,
not a
I
great
liked
movie.
it.
Not a great movie, but it's worth for them. It's worth watching it for most people. Smile 2. Imagine if he's telling you Smile 1 sucks. He's
It
telling you
was a
Smile 2
stretch.
works. So and it is. It's really Smile 2 sucks.
I
Smile 2 is a
It
stretch.
was-
It's like never watched The Godfather 3.
I'll tell you this.
Just watch up until the opening scene. Like
I'll
once
tell
it
you
said
this.
Smile 2,
I'll tell you.
shut
this.
it off.
Smile, the first Smile movie. The promotion for that movie was better than the movie.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
There were baseball games, there were, basketball games, all kinds of games, wherever, and there were people just in the audience, in the crowd, standing there just with that like crazy smile. Some people didn't know what it was, but that was one of the greatest promotions for a movie that I had ever seen, and it was way better than the movie.
We have to make sure we mention this. Somebody mentioned Candyman. No, these movies do not compare to Candyman. Candyman is a classic. It's a top movie.
You
These
cannot, right? I mean, listen, we're talking about the stuff that came out in 2024. Now, if any of you are looking at the table and wondering what these two masks on the end, it's from this movie called Stream. I don't know if any of you have seen it. If there's even one person watching right now who's seen it, I'd be amazed. It was a very limited run in the theater, which when I say limited, I think it was really only out for like 1, maybe 2 nights. And if you caught it on those 2 nights, you were lucky, because to me, this is one of the better slasher movies that has come out in a while. It was a lot of fun. Vinny, like, I bought it on digital just so Vinny could watch it and we could talk about this.
I had zero expectations going into this movie. I knew nothing about it, just that you loved it.
Right.
And it was really good. It was not a new story, but a new twist. And it was, it felt fresh.
It definitely wasn't a new story. It was definitely something that you've seen somewhere before. Like, you could even go back as far as so you can go back as far as like Death Race 2000, where basically you get these people into a hotel. Now, these people ransack the whole hotel, and the people who run it, the people who own it, for this online game that streams online. And people bet on it, like in Vegas, they bet on it online and all this stuff. And there are 4 killers, I don't know if you could see all of them in the. So you got the blue. Well, I'm sorry, on the screen it's red. I'm sorry, red, blue, yellow, and green.
Yeah, and then they're all numbered.
They're all numbered, and what it is people place their bets on the killers, on the people in the house, and whatever the outcome is at the end of the night, that's who wins the money. So it was really a fun watch. I mean, David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown in the Terrifier movies, is one of the killers of the movie.
And the first scene where you see him, you know
right away. Yeah, you could tell by his
face.
Right.
He's this big because he's supposed to be far away. But you can tell that it is him.
Oh yeah, the second he's like looking, he's tying up a noose. The second the way he moves his head, it's him. Like when he turns around and looks at the camera, it's like, that's him. But it had a very good cast as far as like the horror community goes. You had Felissa Rose, had her scene in there, and you had Danielle Harris. She's been doing horror movies since she was like, what was she, like 6 years old, something like that? And when she was in Halloween 4. And if any of you don't know who Danielle Harris is, if you remember Molly from Roseanne, that's her. She was in, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. She was like the tomboy daughter who played baseball and all that stuff. You have Daniel Roebuck, who was also in Terrifier 3 as Santa Claus. And you had Jeffrey Combs. Now, if you know the Reanimator movies, if you like the Reanimator movies, if you've seen Castle Freak, or he was even the neurotic detective, I think he was in Frighteners. He made this movie. This guy was fantastic. Like, the whole movie, you're watching this guy and you're like, God, he's got it. Like, he is still so good. The whole movie, he was just on point, hilarious and scary, all at once. Plus, you had a lot of great cameo appearances by Tony Todd,
Yeah,
Bill Moseley, even you know, he was wearing a mask, but Tim Curry was there too, which
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Oh,
Tim,
yeah.
he
Tim
had
Curry
very
made
small. This movie came out last year. He's in the wheelchair,
Yeah.
wearing a mask. You know,
Right.
he uses a voice for it, whatever. And writer director Jason Levy, who's also tied to the Terrifier movies, put this out. To me, this was better than Terrifier 3. Granted, it was gory, not as gory as the Terrifier movies. It was a lot more fun. You know what I mean? Because it was
and
like
some of the kills, they don't show you what happens.
right. It was, you know, but they
know?
were also very inventive kills, things that you probably wouldn't expect.
You know what happens. You know, it's like
right?
like the yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but like you know,
Yeah, just I mean,
the drill kill.
right? Exactly.
You know, you see the guy putting the drill up to the side of the guy's head. He's tied to a chair. He's holding the power drill up to his head, and then it cuts to his boot getting splattered in blood.
Right,
So you
but
don't
then
actually
I
see.
kind of dig that though.
Right, but you
I
do-
see you know this guy just took a drill to the
well,
head.
it was the woman in the beginning who had the drill to the head that you don't see, but it was the guy that you see it coming from behind and you see his eyeball pop out. You know, all that fun stuff, all that fun bloody stuff. But to me, this, as far as like Michael Levy being one of the guys who worked on Terrifier, to me is what Grandma's Boy was for Happy Madison, where you get the people who worked on the movies with the main star Adam Sandler, and they put out something better than Adam Sandler. Whereas these guys worked with the guys from Terrifier, and they put out something
We
better
could
than
do a whole
Terrifier.
episode on Grandma's Boy. That's
Well,
my
we're-
favorite movie
Well,
ever made,
that'll be,
but it doesn't fit the genre.
right. So that will bring us now to Terrifier 3. Another David Howard Thornton movie. I mean, Damien Leone, the writer and director of the Terrifier movies, did also work on the Stream movie. But I will say this: I thought Stream was better than Terrifier 3. As far as a slasher movie goes, I think it was just a better slasher. Again, not
Better
a new story. Better
I
story.
still haven't. I
Better
still haven't
story.
finished Terrifier 3,
Well, that's the thing
but
because
I will agree with you.
right, and because Terrifier 3 really still hasn't given us a story yet.
Right.
You know, we know that Sienna's father has something to do with Art the Clown being something.
Right.
We don't know if he drew him into existence. We don't know if he dreamt about him and drew about it. We don't know if, you know, he brought this character to life and had to create a character for his daughter to be able to defend herself. But that's all we're getting. You know what I
Right.
mean? We have to like use our own imagination at this point, which for the most part, I've talked about how it's good to be able to not show somebody something and you just figure it out yourself, but not in this case. You know what I mean? We know what happened to Jason at the end of in the first movie. We know that he drowned. We know why his mother came back to kill. We don't know what Art the Clown is yet. We know there's some supernatural entity happening, or there's something supernatural
I
happening,
told you my theory.
but he does not. We do not know enough about him by the third movie.
My theory is the guy made a good slasher gore movie, had no idea what his plot was,
Right.
Right.
and now has to come up with a plot because it's
That is-
successful.
Right.
That's what it feels like. The first one didn't have a story at all. Didn't need it,
Not really.
Right.
and it succeeded. And then it seems like with the second one and the third one, he's trying to
I didn't
to
like the second
pull a
one,
story out of
and I
nowhere.
haven't seen the third one because I did not like the second one.
Well,
that much.
yeah, and granted, there were a lot of movies that I have not watched because I didn't like the one before it. But you have this, like you said, it became successful because of the gore, but that's what it became at that point. It was all about the gore and less about the story.
Right.
You know, you usually when you're watching a slasher movie, you don't need much of a story. You just need something. Like I said, when you go back to the movies like Friday the 13th, what do you know about Jason? He was a young boy who drowned in a lake.
Right.
By the next movie, there was something new to his story. By the 9th movie, he had a sister nobody knew about.
Yeah. It's,
You know what I mean?
Nice, they build it.
But it's like, you know, the story keeps changing, but there's no story to change. If there's no story to change, you could put anything out and people are like, well, there was more to the story. It's like, no, there really wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All there
And
was
you
in
can tell.
part 3, all there was,
You
yeah,
just connect the dots that don't work there.
exactly. And all there is in part 3 is a flashback of Sienna when she's a kid and her father creating this character just for her because, you know, she's a little girl saying there aren't enough female superheroes. When are you going to make me a female? Because her father was like a comic book artist. You know, he created all these like characters and stuff. And she's like, well, when are you going to make a girl superhero. So he makes one for her, gives it to her, and it was, you know, the angel that she was in
Right.
part 2, which is a cute story. I like that. But how did she become that? I understand making your costume because, you know, to remember your dead father's creation, but how did she become that? How did she become that actual warrior? How did Art the Clown become this actual
Right.
live butcher? You know, what was it? Butcher of
Is Art the
Bakersfield.
Clown some kind of demon possessing her dad's body?
Well, and that's the thing, you know, no one really knows just yet. And it's like in
Yeah.
part 2, it's, you know, they explain in very little detail like what the pale girl from part 2 was. But what good is that now in part 3 when she's not even there?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's like now it's all about Art and Victoria, which is fine, but it's like it became to be too much. You know, it's like I said, when you see, again, I'm always going to go back to Jason because, you know, it's like my favorite slasher. But when you go back to Jason and he's in the woods walking with a machete in his hand, that's what you're going to see. After a kill, you'll see him do the kill and walk away and go on to the next one. With Art the Clown, because Art the Clown became such a big, you know, huge sensation that people love, they focused a lot on Art the Clown and what he's doing behind the scenes. You know, it's like I love the opening sequence of the first movie where you see Art the Clown, just his hands, making his weapons, putting the
his
makeup
knives.
on, and that's it. That's all you know about him, was that he got ready on Halloween to go out and kill. To me, that's a better story than what they're going with at this point.
Well, it would have been a really, really good movie if he would have been dead on that slab and that's it, it's done.
Okay.
But we all know that that's not how money's made in Hollywood.
No, absolutely not.
Right.
They're only going to give you a little bit and a little bit and a little bit
Yeah,
because
but-
it
No.
keeps setting you up for the
But
next
I'm
movie.
telling you, that scene also looks like, again, I write this stuff too. Not that I've been anything successful, but I write it. And I know that when you write something, I could tell when you wrote something and you wrote something sometime other time.
Right.
They wrote him getting up afterwards.
Right.
Somebody told him you can't let him die.
Kind of like
You're gonna have a 2.
right, kind of like what happened outside of the first 3, the real first 3 original Star Wars movies.
But yeah, right.
Everything
They talked
outside
about
that-
the past.
Right.
So somebody said, well, you should make movies about it. And they could never have made movies about it, but they made billions, let's be honest. They made billions, so it's
Mhm.
worth it.
Right.
But it ruined, again, I'm going to bring it back. I mentioned it earlier. They made a Godfather 3,
Right.
which is a sin because it sucked royally. It was one of the worst movies ever
Yeah.
at that level.
It's so cousin Dick.
But
But anyway,
But I was going to say that we keep on bringing up Freddie,
Freddie and
Jason,
Jason.
no,
Yeah,
Jason.
Jason.
In Friday the 13th, one.
Mhm.
If it ended with him just jumping out and something, it never had us two. Was just a standalone great movie.
Oh, absolutely.
With a tremendous twist, with a tremendous plot. You know, everything later on, and I know you love that stuff, but everything later on made it cartoonish.
Well,
But the first one was a classic, perfect.
right. And I totally get that. I get it. And like, trust me, I could do a freaking 2 to 3 hour talk just on Jason alone. But to keep the show going, let's talk about another oddly deformed looking creature, Nosferatu.
Okay.
You know, we're talking about
Art
Art the
talk
Clown.
about Vinny now. But no.
Well, I mean, I figured Art the Clown's got the big nose.
Yeah.
Nosferatu kind of had the big nose. I finally sat down and watched it. And I get what you were saying about, like, as far as visually,
Yeah.
it was pleasing to an extent. but there were certain points where I'm watching it and it felt like, you ever watch like a live play on TV?
Yes.
That's
I
what
get
it felt like at points. Certain points, like because of the dialogue, it almost like it sounded like a slam poetry reading.
I would, yes.
You know,
Yes. So to encompass that for anybody who hasn't seen it, for cinematography, it was a 10.
fantastic.
It was amazing. It was incredible. The story's a good story. It's a great story. It's a knockoff of Dracula.
Right.
There's a reason for it. Well, I don't know if you're going to get into it, but there's a reason for it. The problem is, it's one of those artsy people
Very.
have to
Yes.
overdo it. They overdid it.
Yeah, they did overdo it. I mean, there were certain aspects to the movie that I did like. You know, I actually appreciated Count Orlok's look.
Yeah.
You mentioned it last week that it was based more
Yeah.
off of Vlad the Impaler,
Yeah.
and you could totally see that
Yeah.
in the movie. And I didn't have a problem with that. you know, I
It's little
don't.
kids, that's
Right,
all.
exactly. I don't expect it to look exactly like the original movie with like, you know, the buck teeth and like the,
Yeah.
you know, all that stuff. And it was fine, but it's like the story itself wasn't a terrible story. You know, it's like you got this young girl, you find out that the reason he's even around is because she invoked him.
Yeah.
Because she thought she'd never find love. So she invoked this creature to be her love, and then she finally finds love on her own and tries to dismiss him, but she can't. I get that. You know what I mean? It didn't work for me. I wasn't able to invoke any kind of weird creature to love me when I was younger, but then again, I would have given my soul for that back then. But anyway, that's besides the point. But it's like, you know, the whole thing about this movie, a lot of people told me, well, it's more about the love story. And I get that, and I'm fine with that. I get it. You know what I mean? I love love. We all love love. Some people could say they won't. They're a bunch of liars. Anyway, so
Talking about vampire movies, what about Abigail?
well, I mean, you know. So, all right. So we're talking about young girls being. Now we're talking about young girls who are vampires. We're talking about Abigail, the ballerina.
The trailer in that movie looked really fun. I mean,
Right.
you know,
Back to
vampire
I
ballerina.
think people harming them.
Yeah, it's just whatever it's doing. Sorry, go ahead, guys. Abigail.
So Abigail, you were saying,
You know, little young girl, ballerina, vampire. Like, I mean, the story was there. You know, the people were sent to what was they thought they were going to be watching the girl overnight, like babysitters, and they were locked in. They were there for her to feed on.
right?
You know,
I
it
like
was
that. I like that.
it was a fun movie.
Concept, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting anything with this movie. It was one of those. It was again one of those movies there. I said, Vinny, you interested in Abigail? Yeah, sure, why not? All right,
Yeah.
let's go. It was a fun movie.
Yeah.
It was funny. There was a lot of good gore, like not too much.
Right.
You know, you got a young vampire just terrorizing these group of people who. I mean, I thought they were there to like steal something. That's usually how it starts, you know.
I thought they were there to protect. They were under the pressure.
That's right. They had to protect. That's right. They had to protect the inside of the house from whatever's outside
right.
to make sure that.
But
the
meanwhile,
kid-
they were
meanwhile,
trapped inside.
right? They were her the
Yeah.
dinner that you know kids often play with. That was the whole thing. That's
Yeah.
what it was. But yeah, I mean, like that movie was good. I wasn't expecting anything
Right.
with that movie. But like what I was expecting, hopefully something good from was Long Legs.
Oh,
So I love Nicolas Cage. I can't. There are very few people I know. who
again,
don't like
I wish I
Nicolas
could have
Cage.
my money back for this movie, even though I didn't pay for it.
So the trailer for Long Legs really didn't give much away. All it was
The
with
trailer
Nicolas
makes it look
Cage.
interesting.
It made it look interesting, but it didn't give anything away. It didn't let you know what the movie's about. No idea at all. I just knew that Nick Cage was in it. I'm like,
For 30 seconds.
but he wasn't in the trailer.
Right.
He wasn't in the trailer because the whole point about not showing him in the trailer is because they want you to be shocked and surprised at how well the makeup was done on Nicolas Cage for you to not believe or realize that it's Nicolas Cage.
And although
But what did he look like? What did he end up looking
John
like?
Travolta.
He ended up looking
funny, right?
he looked
he-
like an old Nicolas Cage.
no, he looked yeah, exactly.
With
But he
that
ended up
wig on.
he ended up looking like the disgusting slob that will take $2 from you to blow him in freaking in college
So he
point.
looked like Nicolas Cage.
He looked like Nicolas. But the storyline, you know, I wasn't. It was like
It was all over the place.
it was all over the place. Not so much all over the place. It was just he was this guy who found this woman, like asks her to make these demon dolls for him, and uses these demon dolls to like help kill these people, to just possess people into killing each other. Now, again, spoiler alert, final scene. Do you want the spoiler? Cover your ears, please. So the end scene is the main character in her partner's house. She's a detective. In her partner's house, he's there sitting on the couch, ready to kill his wife. She's there while this guy's ready to take his own wife and kill her. Brings her into the back room, kills her, comes out, and then her partner kills him. Why not kill him first? Why not use the bullets that you have in your gun that you just used to kill your own mother to kill your partner before he kills his wife who's sitting there crying. You know what I mean? Like with that nervous, smiling cry. It's like, what are you doing?
I'll be honest with you, that movie was so bad. I blocked it out. I don't even remember that.
Jesus Christ, man. That's all I remember. All I remember was that. I'm watching this and I'm like, shoot him.
I just what bothered me was that the first 3/4 of the movie, it seemed like girl got kidnapped and they're looking for the guy that took her, and then it just in the third act, it's like no, it's something supernatural.
Right, exactly.
Like, what?
Yeah,
it's
right. And
no, but it just like if it would have been supernatural from the beginning, okay. But it's like there's no indication of any supernatural going on
because they make you believe
until
that,
the third act.
Exactly, they make you believe that Nicolas Cage is just some scumbag,
right,
doing nasty shit to people.
Right.
Like just you know what I mean. And what was the whole point of making him look that disgusting looking if he wasn't going to be that kind of a disgusting person? It was just too much. But there was a better Nicolas Cage movie that came out last year. I don't remember it being in the theater, but it was called Arcadian. Now, just quick on this, it was like an end of the world type of scenario, where basically everybody's got to do everything during the day. And if they're not inside by night, these creatures come out and kill them, take them, destroy them, eat them.
I saw this black stuff.
I did not see this one.
So the thing was, the movie was good. I liked it, Nicolas Cage as Nicolas Cage, and at the end, half dead Nicolas Cage. You know how angry half dead Nicolas Cage can get, and you know the kind of shit that he can, the shit that he can wreak. You know what I mean? Like just he was great in the movie. I love Nicolas Cage. The only thing that I had a problem with was the creatures in this movie. Now, every time there's a movie where there are creatures, they always kind of make them look similar, where they're these like tall, skinny, lanky, weird looking things. But these ones had fur. These ones had fur, and they looked like they were like werehorses in a sense. Like they were part man, werehorses, part man, part werewolf, part horse.
So
because
they're centaurs.
There you go. Not even because these were tall, long, like lanky, hairy creatures.
Oh, they had long legs?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
See what you did there.
So this would have made more sense being called long legs. But they had these faces, like they'd be looking down and they had like a face right here. So you'd think that's their face, and then they lift their face up and they got these these long jaws, like these big like horse mouths that open this high, and they chomp like that, like really fast. Like I can't even do
it. Did you
right, exactly. And it's like,
so I actually did not even know this movie existed until we made this list.
Right.
I want to see this movie now.
It was a very Quiet Place type of movie. Whereas instead of having to be quiet, you just had to be home before it got dark.
Be in the light.
Yeah. So we're in a quiet place.
It's like it's like when you turn 40.
You have to be quiet. Now 2024 brought us day one. Quiet Place day one.
Yes.
Now, to be honest, I thought the other two Quiet Place movies were okay. I thought they were good. But again, tall, skinny, lanky creatures, hairless.
Yeah.
This was before they reached puberty, I guess, before Arcadian, and got used to the sounds and just said, you know what, we're just going to come at night. But so I thought I wasn't too into this one. I know you liked it better than I did.
I enjoyed it. I mean, like I love the first two.
Okay.
And seeing that prequel, and it's also a lot of these movies, like with the first one, we had this great world set up for us. They did it in The Walking Dead also, but they don't show us how it started.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing, the day one was
how did it start?
Yeah, how it started.
No, I know. How did it start?
He's asking you how it did.
I mean, the aliens just
happened
on Earth.
Right,
they just showed up. But like seeing how people react to it. People in Manhattan. At first they're all going nuts. Right. Nobody knows that you have to be quiet. And see the people figure it out. And the crowd scene where they're all walking in the crowd and they're all they're not making noise, but then like one lady's suitcase, the wheel gets stuck on a rock. and it just, it makes enough noise to attract one of these things, and then everybody panics,
Yeah.
and you just hundreds of people getting eaten in one shot. It's,
Right. See, I appreciate prequels to an extent. It's like if you're gonna do a movie where something's already happening, I understand you want to go back and tell the story of how it started. But sometimes I'd rather it just start where it starts. Like you remember
I think though that
Cloverfield.
if this movie would have came out first, it wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Would not have done as well.
There are certain movies
Yeah.
that have to start that. There are certain movies that start because it's very complex to start a movie where the action that created a world started, because it would cost a ton more money.
Right.
Whereas, remember something, A Quiet Place was not, in
It was
comparison, was
John
not that big.
Krasinski's passion project.
Right. It was not a big budget movie.
Okay.
You did not need a ton of special effects. You didn't even see the guys, right?
Right.
It's later on that they said, okay, it's successful. We could do now the original. We could we could start showing how this happened. We could show the city blowing up.
I
A lot
think
of stuff you can't do right away.
I think that the first two movies did a great job of telling the family's story.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third movie, it needed to be another story.
Right. I mean,
and whether they continued forward or like they did when they went back to the beginning,
yeah, and I get what Gio's saying as far as first you got to see how the movie does.
Right.
You want to give people the action right up front because you want to make the money to make another one. And then it's like, okay, we made the money. People love these movies. Let's show them how it started.
Right.
To where the beginning doesn't start
Where they
with
had the budget to be able
right,
to do it.
exactly. To where they can film like in a city setting and
Right.
certain more than one.
Even the cost of the CGI for the monsters.
Right.
To put the budget for the first one didn't allow for more than 2 or 3 of them to be on screen at once.
Right.
But now because the first 2 did so well, the third one has the budget where you
Yep.
have hundreds of
Yeah.
them ripping down the sides of buildings.
And that makes sense. I don't have a problem with origin stories. I mean,
Right.
prequels.
Like, this is one that I think it needed to be told. The story
True,
needed to be told
but I mean,
in the order that it was told.
right. But see, another problem is it's like when you start a movie halfway through the story with like with the first Quiet Place, you're following this family around. It's like you can't go back and tell us how they started because the kids are older.
Right.
You're gonna have to get different actors and all
Right.
that stuff. So let's introduce them to these people who had no idea who each other were until shit hit the fan. Or until the aliens hit the street,
Exactly.
So, okay, I don't have a segue for this one, so I'm just going to go into it. Late Night with the Devil. This guy told me he really wasn't into it.
But to be fair, it had a found footage feeling, and
Yeah,
that's
I don't
not
know.
his favorite kind of movie.
Okay, see, I'm not a
So-
fan. I'm not a fan. Generally, not that big of a fan of found footage myself. I don't mind it, but I'm not usually like one of my favorite found footage type films was it's one called Digging Up the Marrow that Adam Green wrote and directed, and it was like it's made like one of those found footage documentary style type films, but those are very few and far between for me. But
I am a fan of the genre.
right, so as far as Late Night with the Devil goes, it wasn't just the whole found footage thing. It was this late night talk show that was going on, and they were going down in ratings. So something had to be done to pick those ratings up. The ratings started coming up. He brings in these guests, and basically there's this girl who's possessed by the devil, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they have this girl on, and she's doing all her like devil possessed shit, but it turns out that it's real. Like this girl is really supposed to be possessed by the devil.
Right.
But it gets a little deeper and darker than that. Like when you say dark, like I don't just mean dark as in, the Dark Lord dark.
Yeah.
It's like what really happened with this guy. So like the found footage part is basically during commercial breaks what was happening backstage. Now this is supposed to be like, hey, back in the 70s, there was this show. And this show was one of the biggest shows Then it started tanking.
It was
So
competing with Johnny Carson.
right, it was competing
Yes.
with Johnny Carson, and he had to do something to bring the ratings back up. And they bring us to the night that the show happened, where everybody was watching. All this shit went down.
On Halloween.
Right on
It was a
Halloween.
Halloween show.
Exactly. So he's doing his show and inviting all these guests. All things start going wrong. Like another guest, like he broke his what was it that happened to him? He got hurt. Like it just happened. Like he just like broke his leg or something like that. I saw it in the theater. Like it was like during last year. But
Are you talking about the psychic?
yes, the guy.
Yeah, the first one. He just started vomiting blood.
That's what it was. He was vomiting
He
blood.
died on his way to the-
Yeah.
And he died on his way to the hospital, and it was unexplained. They didn't know what it was, but you find out that it was this devil creature, this demon that was there. But like when I say it gets darker, the darker part of it was that was the host's doing, because he basically sold his soul to the devil to have this happen. And in selling your soul to the devil, you have to make a sacrifice, like a living sacrifice. He sacrificed his wife.
His wife. Who had
So
cancer.
well, that's why she got cancer, because he sacrificed her to become famous. And it was really as exciting to me. It was really as exciting, as scary, and as heartbreaking all in one. It was just one of the better movies that I saw of 2024. And that's fine. You don't agree with me, but I was just very pleasantly surprised, because like it was already on Shudder, but Alamo Drafthouse had it in the theater one night, and I'm like, you know what? This is how I'm going to watch it. I'm going to go to the theater. I'm going to watch it, and I loved it. I was like, I really enjoyed it. I was very happy with what I came out to see that night.
Okay, so it wasn't bad. It wasn't one of my favorite things because, again, I don't like found footage.
Mhm.
I think the 70s was one of the worst decades ever. Even though I was born then.
Right, I wasn't, but
You're the only one of us that was alive then.
Yeah. So it was a little bit that weird.
it's not the nostalgia that you want.
It's not the nostalgia I want. Everything looked like it was, what do you call that?
Yeah, we would all kill to go back to the 80s.
Yeah. So
It was like old disco, yeah. Not polyester.
Polyester. Yeah,
Polyester.
everything
Okay.
was polyester. Everything looked horrible. Like it was just
Like it should have. I
Well,
thought
yeah.
it was very accurate
Well,
in
it
the
was
way that it
accurate.
looked.
No, it was. It was definitely accurate for the 70s. Like all the graphics were horrible because in the 70s they didn't have great graphics. They literally just had still shots of stuff. We'll be right back. Literally, we have better screenshots right now on this stupid podcast.
Right, and that's fair. But again, mostly like the found footage portion of the show was basically what was happening behind the scenes
Right.
during
And
commercials.
for those that want to get an idea of it, it's the same idea of Rosemary's Baby. You sold your soul.
Right.
Something has to be
Yeah.
given.
So the only thing that I really kind of felt was cringy was, and if you haven't watched it, spoiler, I didn't like how they handled her at the end, where it was like she was like on fire with the electric, and then they split her open.
Right.
And I thought that was really weird and cheesy and really didn't
Yeah.
fit with the whole feeling of the
You know
movie.
why they
I
did
feel
that?
like they could have done it a
No,
different
they
way.
did it because that was the height of graphics that that guy knew how to do. That was different because that was obviously high-end stuff, and that was probably the most that he could figure out how to split somebody's head open and make it light up and stuff like that. You have to realize that a lot of times they'll put something. We talked about this. When you're writing and you're directing and all this stuff, there's certain things that you can do
Mhm.
because it's the best you can do. That's so it was not that big of a budget movie, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No,
And
I think most of the budget went into that scene.
into that one scene.
Probably,
So they
yeah.
put a lot of budget into
So they
that
put
one
all their
scene.
money into the one scene. I was like, what the hell is this?
And it made no sense. But the thing is that look what we could do,
Right.
and that and that's one of those things that it wasn't needed to
Right.
be that graphic.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. I mean, I think that pretty much like sums up, our list of what we're doing tonight. I mean,
Yeah.
for the most part, that's what we talked about.
Yeah.
That's what we saw in 24. I mean, there were more movies, but like some of them aren't worth even.
Two notable
I mean, is there
mentions
anything
that are
that
more
you-
on the psychological horror side, The Substance and Blink Twice.
Okay.
I know you haven't seen either one of those, correct?
Okay.
I
Correct.
see.
I
leave your
saw
list for
both
me.
of them.
Yeah.
And they're both great.
If those are the,
I really think you guys would enjoy Blink Twice.
So what's
You know?
Blink Twice about? I mean, I saw the trailer for it. I kind of got an
So-
idea of what it's about. What exactly is it about?
Rich guy gets a bunch of girls to come back to his private island. You know, one rich guy and his friends. They get a bunch of girls to come back to the private island with them, and they're partying, and they are the guys are drugging the women and doing stuff with them, and they're waking up the next day not remembering anything.
Okay.
And I mean, these women are put through hell,
Right.
but in the end, they
They what?
To get their revenge.
they get their revenge. Let's
Awesome.
put it that way.
Okay.
And,
Now, is it-
like
Now, when you say that they put them through hell, like, do you actually see what they do to them in the movie? Not that I need
later in
that.
the movie,
Is it
yes,
graphic?
like it's not graphic, but they don't show you what's going on, but you know what's going on.
Okay.
You
Now, who was in this movie?
know? Channing Tatum.
Okay.
What's
What's her name from Arrested Development?
Yes, maybe.
Alia Shawkat, I
Yeah,
think her name is.
maybe from Arrested
Right.
Development. She's in it.
Well, I watched
Yeah.
Arrested Development
Yeah,
up
exactly.
until like the last season. I
It
don't
was,
think I've seen
it's
that.
very good TV.
Right. Did they have freckles on it like her face?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
The little kid from The Sixth Sense was in it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I had to look it up. I was curious.
oh, okay.
Haley
Haley
Joel
Joel.
Osment.
Ellie Joel Osment.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but
Older now.
yeah,
Full beard.
old fat, yeah, beard,
Not cute anymore, is he?
Huh?
Not cute anymore, is he?
right. So, okay, the substance.
Substance.
What's that about? Tell us.
We're gonna talk about a spit on your grave in a second. Or finish with the substance.
The substance was a weird one, to say the least. This woman, Demi Moore, she's an actress. She does a fitness show.
Yeah, she gets old.
She's getting old. So she hooks up with this company that sends her the substance that basically it's like a drug, I guess you could say, and you take it, and it brings your younger self out.
No.
My younger self was even a bigger dick than I am. So that
But I mean, when I say it brings your younger self out, I mean like a younger version of you literally rips out of your own body.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't know that. I thought it was just like one of
Now
those
that's
things where
Twist.
I thought it was one of those things where like
Right.
she just wakes up and she's a younger.
Yeah,
It's two different people. It's two different.
So,
they
like-
don't even share a mind.
So, but this younger version like rips out rips the skin off and all that fun
No.
stuff.
And the first thing she has to do is sew up the back of the older version because she has to keep it alive because they
Oh.
can't exist without each other.
See, I didn't know that. See, I thought it was like one of those things they give her the substance.
Oh,
And
it's
she,
interesting,
she
isn't
morning
it?
comes.
Her younger
Right,
self.
no, it's just like you don't
Yeah, no,
you don't necessarily see the morphing. It's just she wakes up and it's like she looks in the mirror. It's like, oh,
Oh,
like
it's
Freaky
so much
Friday,
more than
you know,
that.
like
And then it just, as it always does, shit gets out of hand.
right.
And
That's what I said too, Carla. Yeah.
So Carla
Yeah.
in the chat said a twist on death becomes her. That's exactly what
Yeah.
Tiffany said
yeah.
before the movie.
But I didn't.
I mean, before
before
the show.
I realized that there
So-
was like ripping and tearing. and
Yeah, that's
two
Patty
people.
brought up something that I just wanted to speak about since we're way over an hour and a half. As long as the battery doesn't, as soon as it gives me a warning to shut off.
Roger. Got it.
But you saw Spit on Your Grave.
The original.
Original.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You saw
Just the original. I never saw the new
so
the remake.
The new one's supposed to be
Wait,
good.
when was the remake? It wasn't last year.
No,
No,
the
remake-
16, like,
I think that's the
Remake.
one that I've seen.
But it also had two sequels. The remake
Yeah.
had two sequels.
Yeah, no.
I want to see the remake because the original is a classic in
I
Hollywood.
have the remake.
The original is it was because it was
Yes.
filmed during that time.
Yeah.
It was like the view, like the look of it, just being from that time, it was just so like dirty. It was so dirty. It's so like
It didn't. It looked like a snuff film, almost like a snuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm a kid watching this. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't even remember if I was in my teens yet. Watching this movie, and I'm like,
She has no wee wee.
right, exactly. Well, then there was that guy who didn't have a weed after after a certain point in the movie,
Right.
but like it was like that movie with like the original Last House on the Left, and that's one of the things that becomes very horrific
Yeah.
about those types of movies. See, Last House on the Left, Wes Craven, you know what I mean? It's like, it was one of those movies that freaked you out even
Terrifying.
more was because it was real people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't a monster. I mean, it's like, you know, we know Jameson was a real person. We know Michael Myers was a real person. Freddy Krueger was, but they're
There was
monsters
nothing to
now.
them. Yeah.
Right, but now they're monsters. They're
Right.
considered monsters. But these were real people who did real shit to real people.
Right.
I mean, obviously it was a
To me,
movie.
That's so much more scary.
Obviously,
Yeah,
it's
the monster
obviously
that
it's a
lives
movie,
next door,
but
and you
yeah.
don't realize it.
right, you know, like movies like that, movies like Mother's Day. Even though if you watch Mother's Day, it's a ridiculous movie. But again, it's real people doing like real fucked up shit to other real people, and it's movies like that that really stick with you and kind of fuck with you in real life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
See, that's what I'm saying. It's a very simple concept. Now, even though Heretic came out 2025, not 2024, so it's not a year in review, but we saw
Did
that.
it really?
I think it just came out, right?
Right. I thought it was at the end of
Okay, so-
24. Either way.
So either way, it to me that was one of those movies that made itself overcomplicated. Because it was actually a good plot, stupid twist,
Right.
got even dumber. Now it's retarded. You know, instead of it being a simple, you know, some guy that goes overboard with his religious views and how he hates, you know, wants to show off how religion is all a gimmick. And
Right.
he just twisted it all over. the place.
Okay. I mean, you know, it's like I appreciate that you know, that premise to an extent. You know, I'm not a religious person myself. I don't really
Did you see it?
no, I started watching it one night and just, you know, it was like during a holiday or something. Like everybody was at the house, and it's not like you could really focus your attention on a movie in a setting like that. I just haven't gotten back to it. But, you know, it's like certain things when it comes to religion, that's fine. Like, you know, I'm not a religious person myself, but some things are just overdone. Sometimes it's just like, oh, this again. You know what I mean? It's like you can watch the whole movie and be like, wow, this movie's great. And then like it turns to that twist where it's just like, again,
Yeah.
you know, and you just kind of get tired of like the
Yeah.
same type of storyline. And it's like, you know, when we were talking about Scream earlier, it's like, again, it wasn't a brand new concept. It wasn't a brand new idea. It was a different spin on it, but it was good.
Right.
You know,
It
whereas you
felt
can look,
fresh.
right. It's like, and you could look at Heretic and be like, okay, like we've seen movies where people are doing this whole thing about religion, but it could have been better if they did something different with
Yeah.
it. And it's just like you said, what's the term you used last week? Going to the well too
Yeah.
often, right?
Yeah.
Because you're trying to recycle an old idea. You just got to make it fresh.
Well, you know what?
It could work.
So the old adage is sometimes the mother of invention is necessity.
Mhm.
Saw, which was a great franchise, right?
Yeah.
But Saw 1 was made because they had no money.
Yes. Okay.
And that made
So
them
one
make,
was three guys in a room.
right. And that made them make a great movie because
Yep.
that's all they had to work
Yeah.
with. And I think the rest of the Saws were okay too. But my point being is that now everybody started copying Saw. You know what I mean? We have to do the kills like this. We have to do all that. My favorite movies are obviously haunted stories, haunted houses,
Okay.
haunted statues, haunted stuff.
You say that, but you still haven't seen 13 Ghosts.
I have to see it. You know, I have to see it. You know what? It's because you can't find it. You know that, right?
I didn't know.
I've been looking for it on like
We
You
do.
know,
every
the
couple of
Now,
weeks.
so I'll bring you the DVD next week.
bring me a DVD player too.
I can do that.
And since you're in the 1980s, you bring me a big goal.
It's super big.
Okay.
Triple big.
I can get all those things.
Yeah. No, it's just no. I have to say, matter of fact, actually, I got to watch what's it called the Yellowstone thing is tonight, and then I might watch it during the week. The 13 Ghosts, if I can find it. There's a lot of stuff that I want to watch. The problem with me is that you got to capture me in the first 5-10 minutes, because
Right.
otherwise I get on my phone and I lose touch with the plot and with everything, and sometimes I miss a good story, you know, because I wasn't really paying
You,
attention.
you lose your tension. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and something happened. But most of the time, I'm actually correct with my observation of movies. Like I turn it off at the right time. Like me and Tiffany were watching an American Horror. Is that what it's called?
American Horror Story, maybe.
No. It wasn't the.
American Haunting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I said I remember seeing this. We watched it. We watched the first 20 minutes. And said,
Oh, that was the Bell Witch.
No, American.
Oh.
The Haunting. We did. We have never watched Blair Witch Reunited together.
Bell Witch, I said.
No, it's the Bell Witch story, but it's called
Yeah.
American
Oh,
Haunting.
okay.
It's an American Haunting, and it's good actors, good everything. It was just fucking boring.
It was
as hell.
boring.
And I
Not
remember
much
2019. I was like, now I remember it's fucking stupid. And, but it had
So it's like Joker. Great actors, great
Yeah.
star power. It's a shit movie.
Yeah.
it had everything that you're supposed to have. It had a budget. It had a good story. A good basis for a story.
But budget
It's a
doesn't
good story.
always,
It doesn't.
like you said,
it could have been
look at
so
Saw.
much better.
Look at the first Saw.
Yeah.
They had no budget.
Yeah.
It's literally 3 guys locked in a room together.
Well, the whole movie, you think it's just 2
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
with a dead body,
Right.
and that makes it even more genius.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And and like, but that movie made so much money that you can see,
Nah, I got
you
you.
can
Any movie
see
wants
the
now.
jump in the budget between 1 and 2.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
by the time it got to 7, it's like they're just printing money.
yeah.
Right.
Well, but that's what happens also. Is that so they're writing a movie. Not Saw's not a good example of this. I'm going to go off the genre, but Rocky, right? Rocky 1.
Mm.
Everybody forgets that Rocky 1 was an Academy Award
Yeah.
movie. Because everybody makes fun of it now.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that nobody wanted to produce that.
Nobody
Yeah.
wanted to do some more, and they offered him $300,000 to buy
buy it and
buy the
do
movie
it.
and sell it.
Yeah.
He wanted to be the
He
actor.
wanted to do it his own
There's
way,
some
yeah.
great stories about that. But
Yeah.
but the point of all of it is the fact that that was his whole life. Like he had sold his dog.
Yeah.
He had sold everything. Not to get rid of this thing that was literally he had $300,000 and he had to sell everything he ever had.
The story behind that movie being made
Yeah.
is just as good as the movie.
So when what's his name? Apollo Creed, what's the actor's name?
Creed, the original.
Oh, the actor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got his Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers. So Carl Weathers it comes in to do like a shoot to see if he's right for the part. And they're boxing. He's boxing with Sylvester Stallone, and he's like hitting him, and Sylvester Stallone goes, "Dude, you're hurting me." So Carl Weathers gets tired, goes to the director, and says, "Listen, when you guys really want to hire me, let me do the part with the actual actor, not with the stand-in." He goes, "That's the actor. He's doing it." He looks at Sylvester Stallone and goes, "Maybe he'll get better." You think about it. Listen, Sylvester Stallone is not a great actor. He just has a face for it. He has the right personality, right face, right everything. He's not winning any for anything else.
Right.
I think Copland was his best movie, but nobody saw that movie.
I remember that one. Yeah.
But so moving back to our genre, the same thing happens with horror movies, where you write a good movie. The Blair Witch Project is a perfect example of somebody that had a great idea, did a good job. Listen, I don't care if you hate the Blair Witch. The guy wrote a 30-page script, made a movie. For you guys that don't know this, the guy that made the movie, the actor that made the movie, made no money.
Mhm.
The movie made like $400 million, but Sony or somebody bought, whoever it was, bought the movie, bought the rights for it for like nothing because it expired. It expired after a certain amount of years. Took the movie and made all the money off that movie. So but point being that they did it. They went out there and they did the movie. They did the best they could. They did a great job at it. Again, people knocked it. The movie was made for like $20,000.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's
It
incredible.
started a genre.
And it started
It did
a
start
genre. It
a
started a
genre.
whole genre.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then again, it's like when you look at something like that, something that had a very low budget, made very little, the actors and all that stuff didn't make much money, and then it became huge and started a genre. That's the same thing with like George Romero when he did Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
They didn't have a good budget. I mean, color movies were already happening. He just didn't have the money to get a color, color camera.
Yeah.
And the other, he didn't even it wasn't even copyrighted. So anybody could take that movie and do whatever they want with it. That's why you go on any streaming site, you'll see Night of the Living Dead there.
So that's funny because that reminds me of one of the kings of small budget movies, Clerks.
Mm-hmm.
Was black and white.
Yep.
And and for years they were like, "Oh my God, he's such a genius. He did this." And then he like 10 years later, 20 years later, he said, you understand that we did in black and white because color. We couldn't change the light bulbs. We couldn't afford to change the light bulbs, and the lights inside would not have allowed us.
They had to film at night.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
With inside,
Inside,
they had to
with
do
the
black
thing
and
down.
and they had to do black and white.
Yeah.
And because it helped
Oh yeah.
the movie. It's just and again we'll always
That
talk
movie
about-
is genius, though.
But, listen.
Right. In a row?
You're given an adversary, and you step in
Right.
and you make a greatness out of it.
Right.
That's what makes. I know I said this last week and I said it the week before, and I always say it. Jaws is the perfect example. The stupid shark didn't work. So what did Spielberg do? By accident, he made one of the scariest things ever by not showing the stupid shark for 90% of the movie. But that being said, Spielberg did that because he was able to, because he was capable of it, even though he was still young and stuff like that at that time. He was capable of doing that because he was a genius. Nobody knew it yet, but he made an advantage of this. Now, I will tell you that even though we're way over, but also battery's going dead. So let's check it out.
Okay, so we're gonna do our recommendations. I will give you a recommendation that was recommended to me by my buddy Neil D from Top 10 Films. It's called Deer Camp 86. It is a 2024 film. It was filmed in 2022, I believe, but didn't really get any kind of a release till 2024. You can watch it on Tubi. It's 1986. There's a camp where people go to every year to deer hunt. It's called Deer Camp, and everybody first starts out in this bar drinking, and it's in this town where Native American girls go missing. So this area is possessed by this Native American entity that takes revenge for those lost, missing, dead girls. So it is a slasher / like supernatural, paranormal, not paranormal really, but it's a good flick. It's something that like I said, my buddy told me about it. I checked it out. It's on Tubi. I would definitely recommend it. It's called Deer Camp 86, as in like apostrophe 86, like the year 1986.
On the superhero side, there's really not, I really don't have any.
Gotta wait for Superman.
A lot of good stuff coming, but I will say as far as 24 was concerned, though, like we talked about it earlier, Blink Twice.
What was it?
If you haven't seen it,
Deer Hunt 86.
check it out.
Deer Camp,
Great flick.
Deer Camp 86.
That movie's on my list to see.
Which one?
Blink
Oh,
Twice.
Blink Twice. It's on mine too.
Great flick.
It sounds really good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. That is our show, Horror and Heroes.
See you next Sunday, 7 o'clock.
Well, these two will see you Wednesday.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.